Yep, there it is.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to my channel, Ask the Psychic Medium, with me, Bonnie and Paige. And I have a special guest today that I'd like to introduce. And his name is Sean O'Loughlin. I hope I'm pronouncing that okay. And
Yep,
Sean
perfect.
has an amazing story that he would like to get out to everyone and to share. It's a very emotional story. Sean actually was in an accident and passed away for 20 minutes, but he'd like to tell us about his story, what he saw in heaven, and explain how it has changed him the way he thought before and how he thinks now. So, Sean, thank you for joining us all today.
Well, thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
Sean, do you want to bring us back to the day of your accident?
Yeah. So the accident was on November 17th, 2023. Uh, it was the eve of my fiance's birthday. We shared four kids together, kind of like a prefab family. We were going to get her a birthday cake, and we decided to leave the kids here at home just so we could kind of get to the store, quickly. Um, with four kids, going to the store is kind of like date night, right? So it's like, okay, we don't have the kids. We're gonna just go do this, get some balloons, get your birthday cake for your birthday the next day, and so we headed north into New Hampshire, and we're driving along one of the major routes up there. Very beautiful scenic drive. A car about 20 minutes from home. A car ran a stop sign at 80 miles an hour and hit the passenger side of my truck and flipped us six times up a hill into a telephone pole. Um, Happened very quick. Didn't even see the car coming. Uh, didn't feel anything, which is a very interesting thing as well. But all of a sudden, after we got hit, I was up in the air, best I can describe it, probably about 25 feet at some angle overlooking this complete scene of carnage, and I didn't really understand what it was at first. I just assumed that it was some sort of like a bad dream, and I kept saying to myself, "I'm like, why would I have a dream about this?" And it was so vivid, just so crystal clear. Most of the time you have a lucid dream or a vivid dream, and colors come through and things of that nature that we see here. This was just somehow different. And as I started scanning across the accident scene of whatever I was looking at, I didn't realize, because the truck had been so heavily damaged and it was upside down, that it was my truck. So as I was looking at people running across the street from this gas station in the middle of nowhere, to the corner in the telephone pole where the accident occurred, weird things started to happen. And, I would look at somebody at the accident scene. The first lady that I saw had this strawberry blonde hair. She was wearing these white sneakers, and I could see her whole outfit. And when I look at her, she was holding her face, and I could hear her talking, but her lips weren't moving. And I was kind of taken back by this, but it wasn't in my voice. When you narrate something, when you read, it's usually in your own voice, right? This was in a voice that I've never heard before. It was a female voice, and I could hear her saying, "My God, please help them. Oh my God, oh my God." And simultaneously to hearing that, which was really, interesting, I could feel the anxiety and how scared she was, like it was my own feelings. And I said, okay, this is a different kind of dream. I don't know where I can look at somebody in a dream and pick up, words and emotions without them speaking. And as I started to scan across the accident scene, I could see what everybody was doing. People trying to get us out of the truck. We were, again, upside down, trapped. People on cell phones calling first responders. Uh, there was a uh, there was a man and a woman that were working on my fiance, and it just got really weird. Where I thought to myself, I said, "Okay, this is seems really real." And as I scanned back towards the back end of my truck, I saw my license plate on my truck, and I have a farm plate, just farm 22. That's it, just 22. And I said, wow, that's a extreme detail for a dream to have. And then I had this moment of, oh my God, we're dead. And as soon as I did that, I looked down and I could kind of see through the truck, kind of like it was like a light bright, looking at a light bright. I don't know if people are familiar with the old light brights that we had when we were younger, but they were super fine pinpoints of light the truck had turned into. And it was still there, but I could see through it. I could see me upside down. I was done. I could see her in what her position was. Um, and it just got really strange. And I zoomed out all of a sudden and I'm up in the air again. And what was really bizarre about that, I would call it like a fish camera view where I wasn't just able to see what was in front of me, but I was able to see everything simultaneously around me. And at that juncture of time, I kind of thought to myself, I'm like, all right, that can't possibly be me down in the truck because I'm here. So I assumed I was ejected from the vehicle and I was in a tree. And that's the best I could come up with. So I looked back at the lady with the strawberry blonde hair and I went to go throw my hands up to yell for help, but I had no hands. And then I realized I wasn't in Kansas anymore, right? Um, as soon as that happened, I realized, I said, this goes against every piece of everything I've ever understood about dying. You know, I was a lights out type of person previous to this experience where when you die, that's it, you're gone, there's nothing. And all of a sudden I find myself 25 feet over my body experiencing still being me with my personality. I knew who I was. I knew everything that I had done in this life. And then I started to look around and say, well, how is this possible? How am I up in the air? Nobody could hear me scream. Nobody could see me. I have no body parts. Yet I had this feeling. It was like this, like permanent goosebumps is all I can describe it as, where, you know, you get goosebumps that go up your spine and they dissipate within a few seconds. And it's an amazing feeling. This was a constant feeling that just never stopped. And as soon as I decided that, okay, I'm actually dead and everything I thought was wrong about, you know, dying, I thought about the children in a split second because we had the four kids we had left at home with the oldest watching them. And within a split second, I went from 20 minutes away from our house to in our bedroom. And all the kids were piled up on our bed. And the oldest was on the far right side of the bed, biting her nails, texting on her phone. The middle one was yelling at the youngest one because the youngest one, I feel like she just knows things. And I don't know how to describe that, but she was clearly saying with what I was seeing when I was in that situation that they're dead, they're dead, they're dead, they're not coming back. And no information was given to the kids at this point besides we were late getting home, right? Um,
Sean,
so as soon as I just, yep, go ahead, sorry.
jump in. When you were looking down at the accident, did you could you tell that your fiance had passed away? Was there any communication with her?
There was a communication later on that something jostled my memory. And this is the weird part about it is as time goes on, it's like pieces of information after the main things that I experienced right then and there have come through. And part of that information also somehow was transferred through my daughter. My daughter knew what happened without having any information. So at one juncture of time, when I realized we were dead, I did not see I saw my fiance's body, of course. It wasn't until after having some experiences being out of the body where I, all of a sudden, she was in my face and she had jet black, thick black hair, right? And when I saw her, she had this wavy blonde hair and it was beautiful. And I've never seen her like that. It was almost like prom night times 1,000. And she's arguing with me about how I can't be there. And I didn't understand the context at the time because I'm looking at her saying, this is the most unbelievable, perfect version I have ever seen you. Not that she wasn't beautiful because she was beautiful, but I'd never seen her like this. And she's arguing with me, you can't be here. You have to go back. You have to go back. And I couldn't even argue because I was outgunned with her beauty and I didn't even know what to do. But that part was also brought through by my daughter later on when something had happened and I was in a really bad mindset. And my little one, she was 6 years old, she kind of got upset with me and she said, Mama pushed you back because you have to come back and take care of me. And I said, there's no way for you to know that. Like, how? I never said anything about what happened at the accident because I kept it all to myself because I assumed anything I would tell people at that juncture in time, being a scientific atheist, I would have called myself, people would have locked me up in a hospital because I couldn't even explain what happened. So to have this story, I kept it internal for a long time. But for a 6 year old to just come out and say that, I said something's going on here. Like there's
She's
something more to all
very,
this.
your daughter that's 6 is
Yep.
very connected with the spirit world. And I know you and I have talked about this. Um, and first of all, let me say I am so sorry about your fiance as well. I mean, what a beautiful person. And yes, she was like, someone has to be here for our children, right?
Right.
And
Yep.
so for your 6 year old, a lot of children do see the spirit world, but I feel like your daughter has that extra gift. Like I as well, I'm a fourth generation medium from my mom, my grandmother, my great grandmother. And I believe you shared with me that that kind of runs through her line as well. So
Right.
that she just has a little extra little gift there that is beautiful. Um, and now you can really kind of understand it because you've experienced it as well.
Right. Yeah. I mean, it's, over after the accident for the past 15 months, there have been some, just with my daughter alone, there's just been some unbelievable experiences of information that comes through her, that really makes no sense how she knows this. But I know once I experienced what I experienced with being able to experience telepathy, be, in a completely different location in a nanosecond, right? Um,
Absolutely.
it just tells me that it's some sort of it's energy, and that's the thing I'm trying to discover here. That energy, as a scientist, energy cannot be created nor destroyed, only transformed. That's a
Absolutely.
fact of
That's
science,
how
right?
I explain the
Yeah,
gift of energy. Bringing us back to the accident a little,
sure.
um, which I hate to dwell on, but
No, that's the catalyst to all this. So
how did you finally realize that you were coming back into your body? Because I can tell you sometimes where there's an accident where we are hurt, our souls do go to heaven, although you're saying that you knew that you were dead and experiencing that. How
right.
did you feel your soul getting back into its body? And that's probably when you felt maybe a little pain.
Yeah, so after a brief, after that experience, the other thing I had remembered about it was, you know, and it's still one of those like, well, it happened because I experienced it, that I ended up being with some sort of what I would describe as powerful energy beings. Now, I'm not a religious person at all. I do believe that there's some sort of higher power. I've always kind of tried to think that way, even though I've not seen it, only because I feel like something inside of me tells me if I can have faith in myself, if I can have faith in my family members and friends, what's it going to hurt to believe in something greater than myself? But that's where it stops, right? Um, I ended up being with this energy being that the power, like I
You
can't
could
describe it.
feel, you could feel
I
the
could feel, I could feel the energy. I could
probably
feel that
feel
energy.
the love that this entity, whether it was an angel or higher being with you, correct? Like your
Yeah.
guardian angel,
Yep. The,
you could feel that love and how they wanted the best for you, I bet.
yeah. The love aspect of it is, it's actually unbelievable. You know, I thought my whole life that I knew what love was until I had my daughter the day she was born. And then I really understood what love actually was and felt like. And that exactly what you said, that the way that energy was coursing through me wherever I was that exact feeling of just that.
It's
unconditional love.
unconditional love. We said it at
Un-
the same
yep.
time, and that's what
Yep.
heaven is. It's that unconditional love. And it's funny how you ended up coming to see me because I'm a medium, but I'm very religious. Like I listen to God
Right.
and I see Jesus and the angels. So um, take me back to the first time that we met, Sean. How did you kind of walk into my office that day, my healing center?
So this is part of what I'm learning, that there are no coincidences, there are only synchronicities. And I have had thousands of impossible synchronicities over the past 15 months that we could talk about for hours. But this specific thing, previous to the accident, I had lost my brother 10 months before the accident. My older brother, who was my best friend, died from cancer. And her grandmother had died a few years previous to that. And we would look into things, James von Prague and people of that nature, and decide like, well, listen, people are getting impossible information. What would it hurt to try this, right? So we went on probably 5 months before the accident. We started looking around. We started with like James von Prague. These are the top 10 people that we're
And I
never
have
going to be able to
trained
get
with
to.
James von Prague.
So that was
I'm,
another
I'm one of
synchronicity.
his spiritual counselors.
So that was another synchronicity that happened. I could feel my hair standing up on end, because that was just something I discovered after, and I just knew that I was going to the right place. But previous to that, I know that you have a waiting list. So her and I looked around and we found you online, and you happen to be, a couple towns away from us at that time. And I said, this is perfect. I said, we'll go independently. I don't want to go together because you're trying to get your grandmother. I'm trying to get my brother. And you know what? What's it going to hurt? We'll just try it out, right? We never got the chance, obviously, to go. So after the accident, I just started thinking about what I experienced. And again, it was like, how is that possible? Well, I need answers, right? I was looking for answers. One, what had happened to me? Two, was it real or was I crazy? So I decided to reach out to you, and I understood you have a wait list, and I put a message in, and I think I just told you my first name, and I said I'm just looking for your services. Didn't tell you why. And when I got off the phone at that juncture of time, I've already had some paranormal, what I would explain as paranormal experiences in the house, where family members were here in certain very specific things that her and I were doing or thinking about doing. Objects would move in front of people, and I felt comfortable. I didn't feel scared at all. It gave me like peace in my heart. But people would run out the door of my house and say, I'm never coming back there again. And so I reached out, and I spoke to her. I just said, all right, I know that you can probably hear me. I can't hear you, but I'm going to talk anyway. And I said, if Bonnie is the person that I'm supposed to go see, she's got a big wait list, then make it happen. Okay. I said, because you're now this crazy energy being, you have enough power to move things in the house
Yeah.
and stuff like that. So I'm going to assume that when you want to be your pain in the butt self, you're going to start crawling after people. And I said, please, if that's where I'm supposed to go, that's how I'm going to make the connection with you, or start whatever it is I'm supposed to start, make it happen. And I think literally within, it was like 30 minutes of leaving you a voicemail, you had called me and tried to get me in the following weekend. It was like this immediate thing. And this was right after the accident. I mean, my arm was still shattered and I was beat up pretty bad. And you tried to explain to me when I came in to see you that, like, hey, sometimes this is too fast. And I said, this is, whatever's happening is not going to stop, right? I've already experienced, and maybe me being dead for a little bit did something to my energy field that made it more of a connection at a quicker rate rather than waiting a whole year. But that was pretty much how I got to you, was because I asked her if you were the right person, and we had already looked you up before that. And then again, when I discovered that you did study under James von Prague, I was like, this is right where I need to be. And that's another thing too. I have these certain things that I've come back with, where when I ask myself a question and the answer, I give myself an answer, is this the right thing to do? I have this energy that goes up my spine and across my shoulders, but it goes past my shoulders, almost like, I look at it as a magnetosphere of the earth. And this is what I experienced when I was out of my body, that the beings that I saw, I didn't see wings. What I saw was energy
And
emanating, and it went out past their shoulders and wrapped back into their bodies. And it looks like wings, but I could feel that energy. And that's kind of what happens to me when I say something and there's truth to it. I get that goes up my spine, out of my shoulders, and it's happening right now as I'm talking about this. And it's the most
I've been
incredible
getting
feeling.
bumps too. So when you asked your fiance if you should come see me, did you get a sign? Was there an extra sign there or a fee?
Um, yeah, I mean, you called me immediately.
Oh, I called. Okay, so she put it
Yeah,
in a little
you
thought.
you called me within 30 minutes, and it wasn't. I was expecting like, hey, in 8 months I can see her. It wasn't anything like and I believe this is exactly what you said was spirits knocking, and I need to get you in here. And I believe when we did that, you were actually hosting a psychic fair at your shop. So that was a big deal to me that you're in the middle of something very big that's going on, and you still took me in. I still remember walking in there broken, and I could just feel the energy in the room as I was walking past all these people that were sitting down and doing all these things, and I just still felt comfortable, like I'm in the right place. I'm supposed to be here, and it's like a
My
knowing
healing
almost.
center, whether it was a psychic fair or not, was always for healing. My readers were always about helping people, really heart centered. So whenever anybody would walk in there, they'd be like, wow, the energy in here is amazing. And when you told me that I took you at a psychic fair, I don't usually read people at the psychic fair. I would be the one, you know, running the psychic fair and didn't do readings myself. I let all of my girls do the readings. So when
Right.
you just reached out to me the last time and said, oh, you gave me a reading during the psychic fair, I'm like, I did. And what viewers should know is when I do a reading, and I say this to everybody that has a reading with me, I won't remember the reading because I'm channeling the information. So when Sean just reached out to me now for a second time and told me a little bit about the first time, um, you know, it's just amazing that those memories aren't retained because you're channeling the energy and it comes from spirit through spirit to spirit and then it's gone with that person. So can you tell us, Sean, a little bit about what happened during that first reading? How did
Yeah. So that
you
it
feel or
was
what came through? Because
it.
I don't remember.
Well, what came through was the only way I can describe it is impossible, intimate information and knowledge of things that there's just no way, unless you are truly talking to that person is giving you this information that you should know in any way, shape, or form. These are, I would call it, and I don't want to get too risque, but pillow talk, right? There's certain things that only you and that person know. Nothing outside of that situation anybody knows about. And you brought through some, and I'm getting goosebumps again, these incredible things that were enough for me to open a door of exploration. Like, okay, I am 100% convinced that I'm not crazy. Everything I've experienced from the accident up until our first meeting is real, but I need to wrap my brain around why doesn't our science or society accept it or be able to explain it? And it's considered, the word that was given to me in the beginning was woo, right? Woo woo stuff, right? And that's the way I looked at it. I said, listen, if you can talk to spirits, that's great, good for you. If it helps people, that's fine. I've never experienced anything like that. And then I'm sitting in front of you and you're bringing through this information that only her and I would know. And the things that I really looked at, and I try to categorize it, being a science person, I said, okay, I assumed there was going to be generalizations, right? Like a horoscope, that you would just give me these general things. I would get emotional. You would feed into it and whatever. And it was nothing like that at all. This was phenomenal. And it is life changing in itself because it said, okay, if people can connect to the people that we've lost, I'm missing something major here in this world, right? And then I started to think about like just the information that you had was impossible to know. And it was before the accident. It was information before the accident, and it was things after the accident. And that's where I was convinced, like, okay, it's one thing to be able to maybe, I'm thinking maybe she's reading my mind, right? I went in with a completely different mindset, what I wanted to hear from
Mhm.
you. And you gave me kind of the opposite, but it was more factual than the things I wanted to hear, right? So I wanted to hear the generalizations. Oh, the person loves you and they miss you. And it was so intimate that I knew for a fact, down to her personality, that you were in communication with her. And
So what a
again,
what a good medium should do, right, is let this someone, the loved one from the spirit world, we learn how to blend their energy with our energy. So before a reading, I say prayers, I open up and I say prayers to God. I say the Our Father like 3 times. And I tell the person in the spirit world, come blend with me, blend your soul with my soul. I'll be your voice. Just go ahead. This is going to help this person in front of you. And I love doing
right.
it, right? So that's why I can't remember anything. So your loved one's soul just blended with mine, and she was giving you what she knew would make a difference for you. Not that
And
I know, what she would know.
it was only what was really interesting about that. And I want to send you something that I'm sure you're familiar with the psychomantium, what a psychomantium is, the mirror room, and you sit and meditate and you try to, this was,
I've
I'll
never
send
done
you,
that, Sean. I've never
no,
done.
no, but this, so in my exploration, like I said, you set me on fire to be like, I need to discover how these connections are happening. They're energetic, and that I understand. I don't have the receiver to be able to decipher what that energy is. That blending you just talked about, that did happen to me a bunch of times in the past 15 months. And a major one happened, I think, the night before we had the last session that I had with you. I was at the kitchen sink and I'm kind of asking answers in my head, but I'm doing it from my heart. I'm not, crying about it. I'm not angry about it. I'm like, I need to know that whatever I'm doing right now is where I'm supposed to be. And I know that it is, but I kind of need your blessing, because when you lose the person you love most in this world,
It's hard.
nothing makes sense after that, right? And it's like, if I need to continue to raise my daughter and do the things I need to do, I don't want to be alone. I have a lot of love to give and I want something better for my daughter, right? So part of that was like, okay, I need to know if it's okay for me to try to go out and live life. I've been a shut in for 15 months, just in this discovery of all this energetic, strange things to me that have been happening, and cataloging them, and, you know, ripping through science, trying to figure out how this works, you know, and all of a sudden I felt what I could only describe as a hand on the back of my head. And it was enough pressure that it actually pushed in my hair follicles. I know I don't have a lot of hair, but I can feel the hair follicles being pushed in. And what was interesting about that is whenever her and I would get into some sort of disagreement, I'm going to call it, we were both very headstrong and stubborn. And and everything is going to be okay. It was a hand on my head, like a child, right? You do, everything's going to be okay. And I felt that, I felt this energy rush through my body when it happened. And I kind of sat back up off the counter and I said, what was that? I said, I felt that. I'm like, I felt that. I said, do it again.
Touch you.
Yeah.
Spirit
I
can
said, do it again. Yeah. I said, do it again. If this is real, do it again. Then I felt the hand pressure on my forehead. I almost lost it because I was like, this is beautiful, but it's crazy because nobody's here to see
People
this, but I
do
know what
get
I'm
a little
experiencing.
afraid of that. What do you mean the spirit world can touch you? But they can. They can touch your body. My brother will in heaven. My brother in heaven, Vicky. He can ruffle my hair on the top of my head. I know
Right.
it's
Well,
him.
she can move things in the house, so it's not
Absolutely, because
inconceivable,
again,
right?
it's energy.
And when
Energy.
she,
It's all
this,
energy, and you get
this,
stronger and stronger as you're in heaven longer.
right. So she, at some juncture of time, that and I know it's her energy. I know her energy.
Feel
I
her.
know when I
Know
can
that.
feel,
Feels
it's like she's got her
comfortable
own.
with you.
Yeah. I know it's like everybody, when I look at it, they say, nothing is still in this world. Everything is in motion down on the molecular level. Everything is in motion. Just to us, it appears as a solid. There's scientific studies that I could run at a wall. It is a 1 in 1 trillion chance that all of our atoms could just miss each other and I could go through that wall. If that is possible, then anything's possible, right? So when I had that experience, all of a sudden I could feel that energy in my body, and
That's
it was the most
called trance
that's the,
mediumship. That's
it,
blending. I went to
what
school with that
uh,
too. I flew to England and took trance mediumship, and that's when that person's soul is blending with your soul.
it was
And
unbelievable.
it
I
can
mean, that was
feel like a
emotional.
big hug, and it
Oh, it
can feel
was,
like
yeah.
unconditional love just wrapping around you, and you don't know why you're getting it sometimes. And then you're like, oh, someone's like right with me.
I knew who it was, and when I was feeling that energy, it was slightly as it was going through my body, just like you said, it was like this soul hug that I can't. This isn't my thing. I'm a science, and I'm a Viking too, right? So this is the other thing is I'm a Viking. I'm not, let's hug the world and all that. I am now, right? So I have this thing where it's uh sunflowers, swords for sunflowers. I have traded in the sword for sunflower, right?
I think
But
that's
that
unbelievable, and I don't think you're ever going to go back to being like that doesn't exist. And I
it
think
doesn't.
that's why we're doing this show today, because you want to share with people the difference from being a scientific guy to wow, heaven is for real, right?
Yeah. So the energy aspect of it, the more, and I, as I go through things, I would experiment with rage and anger. I had a lot of rage and anger for the
Of
person
course,
that did this, right?
of course.
And when I would have this rage and this anger, nothing would happen in the house. Nothing would move, no strange things. And then I said, okay, I did that for a week. Let me try to have this like just love and appreciation, right? Which is not my wheelhouse. I grew up a farm kid, and it's not my wheelhouse, right? So I would have that, and then all of a sudden, within like 2 days, amazing things would start happening in the house. And I said, okay, time out. Now I'm going to have a week where I get back into that rage, and it would go away. And I said, all right, let me have that love feeling again and good memories, and think about only good memories. And it came back, and it was at that juncture that I decided, like, okay, well, my energy is affecting my ability to receive energies, right?
All
And
it's all a vibration. When you mention, the radio, I know how to dial in,
right,
reaching a higher vibration, and I raise my energy by saying my prayers. So you
right.
did it a different way. You said, "Oh, let's try this out. I'm going to be, rainbows and sunshine." What did that do? That raised your vibration, because heaven's up here and earth
It
is
did.
heavier. And then when you came back down to the more earthly
Oh,
emotion,
it's heavy. Yeah, it's heavy.
you
And that's the thing about, I
really
got,
wanted to reach up there. Yeah.
yeah, very, right. So that was the thing too with that, by what I'm going to say is raising my vibration by being more positive. Forgiveness, I think, was
Oh,
the
forgiveness.
biggest thing that I
Love.
did, right? I
Yeah.
had a night where I was teetering on, thoughts that were horrible. And I all of a sudden just came to me that I'm like, I'm like, this isn't my path. I can't, if I go off the handle, more people get hurt than get better. And I can't leave my little one behind. And so I wrote a letter to the person that did this. And I said, this was truly an accident. And even though I feel like I got the short end of the stick because I lost my entire family basically, except for my one daughter, I forgive you. And I hope that you can forgive yourself. And I hope that as you go through life, you're able to do some beautiful things and help a lot of people. And when I did that, I just felt this weight came off my shoulders.
And
But not
I'm
only
getting
that,
bumps all over when you're saying that,
I
because
felt
yeah.
more energy. I could perceive things better. All of a sudden, like I said, when I had that instance in the kitchen, when
Again,
her
you want
energy was
that
inside of me,
higher vibration of love instead of
yeah,
fear, worry, hate, right down here.
that's It's
But
the
when
worst. I mean, hate, anger, all that is just
and so when they say, the power of forgiveness, it's going to help that person out like you more. It
right.
is. Plus, it helped his soul, right?
Yeah,
So,
right.
you know, we have a life review. I don't know why he went through a stop sign. It could have been a mistake, and so that his soul probably needed to know you were forgiving, right? So you
Yeah,
did something really beautiful to help. So we're all souls having a
right.
human experience, right?
I 100% know that, Mel, and that's
So we're
something part
all
of the discovery.
all souls. We go to heaven. We have our same personalities, our same funny, quirky things that we do. And we're here to learn. Our souls are here to learn. And I think you mentioned that to me too, that you felt like our soul, like your soul came back because there were more lessons and there were more things that your soul needed to do. Um,
Right. Yep.
Right. So that brings the reincarnation part of it too, and then sending you back. No, it's not your time. Your soul's not ready. Your soul signed up for certain experiences in this lifetime. This is our school. So, you know, you've
Yeah, it
had
was in the
the hardest things happen to you, Sean, though, and you're making the best of them, and you're taking something that was really just so hard to go through, and you're giving them a different spin, and you're helping people by telling them, yeah, I was a science guy, but now look, I know this to be true.
it's true because I can feel it, and it's just like the feeling I had from, the first kiss I had with my fiance to the day my daughter was born to, it's just a certain feeling where you just know it's a knowing, and I can feel it because it doesn't just help my brain, it makes my entire body feel right. And,
It's
it's really
clear,
a,
it's called clear cognizance when you just
right.
have a knowing. Oh,
Yeah, the knowing's phenomenal. Like that energy again at the kitchen sink there, as she was inside of me, and that energy was coursing through me, and I felt like that hug. It was slightly changing, and for some reason, as the energy changed, I could feel, and this is where I'm still trying to bend my brain around this. I could feel moments that we spent together. Now, there's no words, there was no pictures. I just knew these instances that this energy, whether that was the energy we shared at the time of these happenings, I knew exactly what each one of them were. And that's because I'm just saying that my energy was able to translate it somehow, right? In a way that I can't quite wrap my brain around yet, because it's like the telepathy thing. How did I hear people's thoughts? How did they feel their emotions? Well, how did I have her energy inside of me and see the day we met, the day that our daughter was born, the day that I asked her to marry me? Like that energy slightly changed to this slight frequency or vibration. But it gave me a clear message, that feeling where I knew exactly what she was talking about. And I knew for 100%, I said, she's here. That's her. I wouldn't bring these things and dredge them up because it would only make me feel horrible. But the fact that I feel like my soul is being hugged right now makes
Is
it beautiful, right? Like it's just beautiful, right? And it's, again,
it's
that's not
kind of
a
like
page that I've
being
ever been
a
on.
medium, right? When that soul blends with you. I don't actually see lips moving. It's all telepathic, right? I know what they're
Yep.
saying. I know what they're feeling. I know what they want me to say. I do hear their voice though. People are like, what? I'm like, I do hear their voice. I do see them. And then I feel what they want me to say as well. So a little of
Yep.
everything there. And
Yeah.
it's a beautiful gift. And really, it's not just a few chosen people, it's anyone that wants to take the time to learn to raise their vibration like you did. So it's almost like a radio, and you gotta
Right.
the sweet spot, you'll be able to hear, see, and feel. Some people, it's easier to do that, and some, it's a little more difficult and takes a little more time. But that's why a medium
Yeah.
teaches people to do meditation, to say prayers,
Right.
to raise their energy. You're going to get stronger at doing this now because you have an intention of I want to know more in the spirit world, and you want that connection now. You've felt that angel hugging you. You've felt your fiance blending with you. You'll never forget that, and you'll want that feeling more because it's just unconditional love.
It's a familiar feeling, and that's the thing that, as I keep experiencing all these, what I would, impossible things, but they're happening. It's all a familiar feeling. Like I feel like I somehow knew this already and I just somehow forgot. And I don't know why that is. It's kind of like, the older you get, you're like, oh, what was I just about to talk about? And then all of a sudden it's like right there and you're like, oh, that's right. And it feels like that. It feels like there's some sort of like a block, like almost everything that I've had to go through in this life, I was supposed to. Every last horrible situation I've ever been in has led me to where I am today and what I'm experiencing today and how I am changing and interacting with others. And by me interacting with others, that especially the people that know me the best, it's changing them as well for the better, because it's like, wow, we know Sean, and I'm pretty stubborn. I'm a Taurus, and when I get the blinders on, that's where I go. Now I'm just so open to everything, and I'm also open to sharing to help people as well, because I understand. I said I was in that place of anger and rage and sadness, and as soon as I got out of there, it was like the most liberating thing ever. And once I did that, I started experiencing even more things that I thought were impossible, but they're making the quality of my life better. They're making the quality of people around me's lives better as well. I
So
know in
it's
today's,
a ripple effect,
it's
right?
yeah, the ripple effect,
So
exactly, and
when
that's
I go
what's
out and I do galleries with hundreds of people, you can't give them all a reading, but if
right.
they can see me and spirit blending and bringing through, loved ones, it's my way of saying, see, this is true. This is true. Your loved ones, there's no death. There's no death.
There's
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 just a
not. There's,
transference of energy, right? There's no death. Your loved ones are going to love you forever.
yep,
So I think you're doing a great job, Sean, especially helping your daughter who has some of this gift. And you say that she can hear her mom so well. Um,
right.
with you being able to um, so my mom, right? My mom was a medium, and when I'd see spirit walking by or doing different things, or I'd hear things, my mom would encourage me, right? Because she could see what I was seeing. And now you're going to be able to do that for your daughter, because a lot of times children will be able to see the spirit world, but that will get pushed down. Like, oh, that's your imagination. That's an
Yeah,
imaginary
no.
friend. That's, you're making that up in your head. But when you have experienced this for yourself, you're going to be so encouraging to her. So
I
that's a
am. Yep.
gift in itself.
It's 100%. Like I said, there's some things that some of you are tuned into that for a fact are going on, and then there's people like me who are slowly being unplugged from the other realm of impossibility, and it's like I woke up in this different life almost, and but it's feels right. It feels like I said, the science is backing it up, and the new sciences that things are being discovered are also backing this up. I'm things that Nikolai Tesla were into, Albert Einstein, being able to pull energy from the air. Energy is everywhere. The ether is in between everything, and it connects everything. Everything is connected, and energetically, that's the way it works. They just proved that space and time was a fabric. They said that Einstein was crazy, and then 10 years ago, they're like, "Yeah, I remember what Einstein said. Yeah, it's a fabric." And I said, "How is it? What connects that fabric? That fabric is something in science that we call like dark matter, right? 78% of the matter out there is dark matter. No, that's an excuse, right? 78% of the matter out there is the ether. The ether connects everything, and that's why in the ether you can go anywhere. Pick, it's beautiful the way that it's set up, and scientifically it would explain it. When I look at the flower of life, and this is something I'm trying to work on now, So this is one of the oldest things that has been around. It never resonated with me growing up. I said, yep, flower of life, that's great, right? And then once I started to scientifically try to unpack it, and I said, the fractals in the flower of life aren't all geometrically perfect. There's a void in between them. So the flower of life itself to me is the solid world that you see around us. Those small voids in between are the energy and the ether that hold everything together, that allow the shapes of this world that we live in. And when you really dig deep into it, it's like, well, if the void exists, it's negative. That no, it's not. It's that energy, because the energy is in everything. It is in thoughts, it's in words, it's in intentions, it's in this world, it's in the ether. It's simply everywhere, because that's what makes everything up. So that's how we're all connected. And I'm slowly, you know, understanding how that works, still trying to learn how to take that radio dial, and I can feel the energy, but I can't hear it yet, but it's getting close. I've had instances
It
where
does take time sometimes, but what I want everyone to know is the spirit world, heaven, God, Jesus, the angels, it's really not up here, it's all around us. And
it's
again,
everywhere. Yep.
just turning into that frequency.
Yeah,
So,
you can just pick things up, and it's kind of like the way it reminds me is, I don't know if you're familiar with the Chinese finger torture when we were kids, the little tube, and you put your fingers in it, and the more you try to pull your fingers out of it, it tightens because it's on a mesh system, and it's frustrating. But as soon as you just relax and let go, your fingers fall out of it. That's exactly how this energy thing is people are fighting it, they're trying to push it. Just let go and let it happen, right? Because that's how I'm able to experience the things that I'm picking up on, is I just let go. I had one thing that kept happening to me at my work where I'd be down working on something, and somebody would approach me from behind, and they would ask me a question, and I would answer the question, and then they wouldn't say anything. And I'd be like, okay, well, was that answer not good? I turn around and I'd look at them, and they'd be like, how did you know I was going to ask you that? And I said, because I heard you say it. And they're like, I didn't say anything, but that's exactly what I was going to ask you. And then I said, oh, lucky guess, right? Because I'm like, I don't want people to know what's going on here, because I can barely understand it. But that's one of those instances where I was in a natural setting, right? I wasn't thinking about trying to read somebody's mind or hear what they were saying in thoughts. It just happened, right? Naturally, because I just let go, and it was a natural thing. And I feel like that's how a lot of these things will be experienced by people. You don't have to die. That's the other thing too. I feel like I didn't have to die to get these things, but I think I was such a stubborn Irish bastard that I had to die to get this different perspective, to go with it, to explain like why and how. And the more that I let go, the more these beautiful. I mean, it is beautiful, and I have no issues saying that to my toughest friend. Like, this is beautiful, and it feels beautiful.
beautiful. And I want to thank you for coming on today and telling your story, Sean. And I'm always here if you need to ask a question about the spirit world. That's why I made a YouTube channel. If you look
Excellent.
at the different YouTube videos, they're all about answering people's questions about the
Right.
spirit world. Because if you didn't have a mom and a grandmother and grandma, and that lineage wasn't there, and it was just kind of all around you, and you just took it for granted. I mean, when I went to school, I realized I couldn't tell everybody what I could see or hear, because they weren't hearing and seeing what I was. Uh,
Right.
but I was always encouraged, and that's why mine was stronger right from the get-go. But you're doing a great job, and I thank you so much. You're going to help a lot of people, and I'm sure that was in the big scheme of things as well, Sean. So
Yeah,
I
that's
want to
all I
thank
want.
you
Yep.
so much. And
No, thank you for having me. I greatly appreciate the opportunity. And again, there's a lot of things to unpack in the past 15 months, that this is just kind of the tip of the iceberg. So if you have a spare room, maybe I'll just move in for a month or two, and we can talk about all these things. But
I am just hearing that you're going to be experiencing more. So your guides want to work with you as well. So um, and it's funny because one of your guides is who's the guy that wears the metal armor there? Like a knight in shining armor type guy with the sword and the
You mean
shield.
you mean this guy right here?
So not Archangel
Oh,
Michael.
the
I
other one. So
them all
there's like a
the
so
time
one of them is like a
but what?
divine. I call him a divine Viking is what I call him.
Oh, okay. I'm just seeing him,
That's
and I just know
that.
he's going to be working with you more. So there you go.
Yeah,
Call on your guides, call on your spirit helpers, call on your ancestors. They're all there to help you, I promise.
I feel it. I feel it. I can't perceive it yet, but I feel it, and I'm
That's
just learning
and
how to
that's
how to.
clairsentience. Clairsentience is seeing, clairaudience is hearing, clairvoyance is seeing in your third eye, and that can be inside your head or outside your head. So there are things to learn about this gift that just helps to make it a little stronger. And so
Right.
if anybody wants to check out my school, which is on my webpage, BonniePageMedium.com, there is a whole school on there that brings you from the beginning to the end. So I've trained with everybody that you can think of in the UK and here just to polish my gift. So there is a little schooling there if you want to make this gift stronger as well.
Yeah, yeah. I'm in the kindergarten level right now, and
You're not.
it's
You're doing great. You're doing wonderful. So, Sean, I could talk to you all day long, but I'm going to wrap this up for everyone now, and I'm going to thank you for
thank you.
coming on. And Sean, for you, I want you to look into trance mediumship because it's the
Okay.
one thing in the end that I learned that helped me the most, but sounded the scariest. Like you're going to let a soul come into your soul, but you've already felt that and you know
I
it's not
felt it. Yeah.
scary. So
Listen, I'm definitely not scared. I've already been dead, and
look
I'm
into
not scared.
that a little bit more. And you know, you really can't die, right?
Yeah,
So,
well, there's the other thing. So that's a
right?
gift and a curse. I think it's a gift and a curse at this point,
It,
but I got to help people. I just want to help,
you got
myself, my
to help
family, and
people.
people around me.
That's
Absolutely.
what it's all about, Sean. So,
Absolutely.
Sean,
100%.
thank you so much. And I know we'll be talking again.
Excellent. Thank you.
Bye,
All
Sean.
right. Take care.
So,
All right. Thank you.